I mentioned earlier, Web 2.5 to Web 3. I've heard you say that it's important that people learn Web 3 because they have a real relationship with their money. They understand their money.
Yes.
And I'm a fan of this. This is what our academy does. I mean,
Yes.
people have to get wallets.
Yes.
I actually force my students to use Uniswap, to yield farm. I even have forced them to buy an option on crypto because I want them
Yes.
to understand the financial instruments.
Yes.
But at the same time, some of our investments at Londonville Ventures are companies that bring your grandma into the metaverse without her having to have the MetaMask wallet yet. And so she goes into a social digital experience, owns digital property without having to necessarily go to OpenSea and understand that. So I'm curious how you feel about those two worlds, because I'm sure you see pros in both.
Yeah, I do. I don't have, just to clarify, I don't have an objection to Web 2.5. It's just a lot of people who have come to us to talk about Web 2.5, is that they want to make money like Web 3, because the capital formation and value is just so incredible, like an example I give with NFTs. But they want to control like Web 2.
Okay.
And that's where I have an issue. So the typical question is, are you Web 2.7 or are you Web 2.3? Like, which part of the equation are you sitting on, right? The fact that we need an onboarding experience that actually helps people migrate is necessary. And maybe you need to, like what skeuomorphism did in early sort of interface designs for the Apple device, we need a version of that as well, right? How do you bring someone who is sort of in the TradFi world into the DeFi world? If you launch, if you do things like on Uniswap or PancakeSwap or whatever fruit or apple or vegetable swap that you put out, it's going to be totally alien, right? And only a certain kind of culture will understand it. Everyone goes like, this is weird. Why am I trading bananas for apples? Or like, from their perspective, this seems strange, as it should, because they're unfamiliar. So we need to create some familiar frameworks. I agree with that. But what I don't agree with is that we make them entirely blind to the process. The end result, to be a full Web3 user, must mean that you are now financially sort of literate, right? You cannot be a real Web3 user unless you have financial literacy. The democratization of financial knowledge is a big part of being a true Web3 experience. Otherwise, you end up basically just being a Web2 user that happens to own Web3 assets, right? That's what this is. Because also, as they say, right, not your keys, not your assets, for instance, right? It's exactly the same thing. If they hold your keys, if they have custody of your assets, they actually can take it away, in whichever time that they want, because maybe they don't like your rules or whatever, and you suddenly go back to being, a Web3 version of Web2, where they can use your assets and they can maybe utilize them in manners that you don't approve. I mean, that's what happened with FTX, right? If you think about it, right? I mean, people gave FTX assets and they started trading them because they had custody of them, right? And you will know this is terribly illegal, but the problem is that we can't control that because we no longer have custody and sovereignty over them. And as an end user, you need to know the difference between the two. And unfortunately in Web 2, we have trained billions of people that convenience of access is the primary benefit, which I very much disagree with. Because if you look about gaming, the number of times that you start a new game, you go through tutorial, that's like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes it's hours. And at the end, you're not just entertained, you learned a new skill. Maybe you learned, how a weapon works, or maybe you learned about how to build a house, or maybe you learned something, but you learned something new. And this to me is a superpower of good game design, that you can motivate people in a gamified way to learn a new skill. And to me, I think that should be, as part of that should be financial onboarding, financial education, knowing what value is, because then I think the world will change. Because, if now billions of people have similar knowledge about financial systems, that to me becomes the antidote for financial abuse. Financial abuse happens because one party knows something that the other part doesn't, right? We had information abuse in Web 1, where someone sold you something or did a deal with you because he knew he would make 99% margins on this because he knew a buyer on the other side, and you had no idea because the internet didn't exist. You didn't have Alibaba or you didn't have Amazon or eBay. So value was intermediated and taken advantage of in really terrible ways. To stop that in the financial world, we must have broad financial knowledge.
Yeah, I think Gary Gensler called it information asymmetry.
Yes.
That's when he was teaching at MIT and he was pro-crypto back then. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that and I agree with you completely. Again, just looping back to your education narrative, I mean, one of the things we aren't taught in school is we're not taught about money.
No, not at all.
And
it's a scandal, if you ask me. I think it's scandalous that we don't teach money in school when money is one of the core infrastructures, if not the core infrastructure, that sort of we need to understand how it works so we can operate in it. Which means that the small percentage of the world, which is still single-digit percentage, that understands how money and value works, that's why they are in their positions of power.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.